Hi, folks. Welcome back to another episode of It Takes a Village podcast. I have another special guest here with me, somebody who I've actually had many battles on the basketball courts,
Mhm.
and somebody that I've followed for many decades now in sport and in education. Mr. Rick Thiessen, thank you for joining me this evening.
All right, Dan. It's a privilege for me to be on your podcast.
We'll get into kind of your aspirations that you're hoping for in the fall. But first, this is the story about Rick Thiessen. He's held titles, many titles in the education sport world. He's had his hands in BC School of Sports, being president for two of them, and I think a board member for about seven. Recently, the EVA's Eastern Valley Athletics Association, founding member of that, administrator, teacher. He's held many tournaments at MEI where he's called home since 1994, which is a very long time. And rumor has it you're hanging it up with MEI and moving on to other ventures. So yeah, thanks again, Rick, for
You
joining me.
bet.
Okay, so let's just get the viewers a bit of the inside scoop of who Rick is. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you grew up and how you came to be?
Sure. Um, I am the middle child of five kids, born in Winnipeg in 1962. So I'm old, but I feel all right still. I grew up in Abbotsford, though. My family moved out west in 1970. So I've lived here for most of my life. Grew up here, attended local public schools up till high school, which back then was eighth grade. And I had two older siblings at MAI already, and so it was natural that I would attend there in grade eight. And the thing about MEI that grabbed me was sports. And back in those days, it was MEI and Abbey. There was a tremendous rivalry, and so Friday nights were you went to a basketball game at one of those two schools if they were playing locally. And so that was my first taste of school sport, and I was in awe of the guys on the court. And I just dreamed one day that could be me playing on that same court and enjoying the experience along with teammates and the whole thing. So my early days were really all about sports. I played baseball, soccer, um, in the community, and then started playing elementary basketball and then high school basketball at MEI. And played a little 1 year of college. I really wasn't that great. We had really good teams in those years. Our senior boys team was in the top five in my grade 11 year. I think they finished fourth. And then in my grade 12 year, I don't recall, but again, very strong teams. And the school had celebrated a provincial boys championship in 1970. And so I came just a couple of years after that. And it was every boy's dream who attended the school back then to be an Eagle and play on the basketball team. So that was my dream for sure.
And recently, you've had success in the basketball court, and you've coached a very very long time. And you and I have had some battles on the basketball court many times. But you finally broke through. You got a
Yeah,
couple of provincial championships. 2025 and 2026 with well, I would say 2025 with the seniors and 2026 with the grade eights.
grade eights. Yeah. And, as you say, Dan, we had some epic battles and I was in the provincial championship three times with juniors, and then in 2022 with the AAA senior team, and lost each one of those championship games. Some of them in heartbreaking fashion. One of the junior ones in triple overtime.
Hmm.
But and so I just thought, maybe it's not meant to be. And so when things came together last year in 2025, it truly was a storybook ending, and it was such an emotional moment for me. My kids were all there. My wife obviously was there, and it was a truly a family celebration because they had been right there with me the whole way, and our kids had come through the school, and we have grandkids now at the school, and so it truly did feel like an epic family adventure that culminated in this championship. And then the one this year with the grade eights, I had a granddaughter on that team, and so I
Wow.
volunteered to coach it, last spring already, and I said, "Hey, let's see how they do." I'd been run some skills camps in the spring with girls at the middle school already, so I knew that there was some talent. But to win it, then again, it felt surreal, to be honest.
Mm,
And to have, my granddaughter there on the bench and, her dad and mom and just lots of family watching that one too. Just also so joyful, in a different way
mhm,
and
mhm.
very, very special for
Well,
sure.
maybe you shouldn't hang up and
Well
continue on the streak that you got going on here.
well, okay, that's the thing. I do wanna keep coaching, so the plan is that I'll be the junior girls coach, next year at the high school, with a couple of other people. I who knows what will happen in the fall, and so I'm not expecting that I'll be able to be there all the time if I'm successful in my pursuits, on October 17th, but we'll see what happens then. But as it stands now, I will be the junior girls coach next year.
Okay, and we'll get into your city council
Yep.
aspirations in a little bit, but
Yeah.
I just want to say, like when I think of MEI, even as a high school student here who attended WJ Mowat, like there was a huge rivalry, and you just think of perennial powerhouses coming out of MEI, whether it's volleyball, basketball, soccer, and I think that's a huge testament to the work that you've done being AD for so long and have had your hand in sport for so long. So I want to ask you, now that you've seen the provincial title, you've been so close on a number of other occasions, what separates a good team from a great one or, a provincial winning one?
Yeah. I could talk about that for a long time, and I've learned so much. And in the past year, since the 2025 Senior Championship, lots of people have asked me, like, what was different about this team, or why do you think you climbed that mountain finally and reached the peak this time? And I don't know that I could pin it on any one thing. I hope, Dan, you and I have coached a long time. You hope you get better as a coach. You're better at motivating players. You're better strategically in utilizing the personnel that you have, or taking advantage of all the different resources that are out there now in terms of podcasts or YouTube videos or conferences. So all of that, has shaped me as a coach. But honestly, I think what the difference was, I learned that I had to understand each of the players' unique talent and ability and then convince them to put their own egos aside and play as a team. And honestly, the culmination was the championship game where our leading scorer had 11 points. We had 8 different players score, and we didn't have to rely on one player. Whereas our opponent, Sahali, they had one girl who had over half of their points.
Mm,
And that was never an issue. Like I would tell the team constantly, if I'm the opposing coach, I don't know who I'm gonna try to shut down on our squad in that year,
mhm,
because, if somebody tried to shut down one player, well, we had 4 or 5 others who could easily score in their place. So, I think it was, we're clearly I had enough talent and had health and whatnot, but it was a matter of convincing them to play sacrificially
mhm,
and to trust me that, we were gonna utilize each of them in a way that would capitalize on their strengths, that would help us as a team have success. And so we rolled through teams, and Seaquam won the Quad A girls that year. We beat them twice.
hmm,
We beat, most of the top 4A teams. We played Argyle, who won this year. We played them 3 times and beat them once and lost twice. So I tried to have the hardest, schedule that I could, and I said to the girls, every week, "We might win some games this week, we might lose some, but it's not about what happens now. The only game that matters happens on March 1st."
mhm.
And so we gotta get there, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was convincing. I think that I learned how to motivate and convince players to play for each other and to sacrifice along the way. And when it all came together, You like to take credit as a coach that it was this master class of coaching, but there's just so many other things that you have no control over.
Totally. Yeah.
I could talk about the officiating in the 2022 game versus the 2025 game as a massive difference. We
Mm,
should have won in 22 as well.
yeah.
But it just was officiated so differently that we couldn't play the way were used to playing that with that team.
I'll be sure not to send this to the
Yeah,
Fraser Valley
exactly.
Officials Association.
I had coffee with one of their leaders a few weeks after the 22 final. I just said, "Help me understand what I could have done
Mm,
because I didn't know what to do."
hmm. Hmm.
3 starters foul out, did not have a deep bench, and so we didn't have a chance. That's
Yeah.
what it felt like.
Yeah. Those are tough. And
Yeah.
I'm a pretty big competitor myself, and I've been teed up a few times. But I at the end of the day, the kids kind of remember the moments that you have provided them, and I think you've done a great job of that. And it kind of leads into my next question. When kids come back to see you, how do you know that you've done your job?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I love seeing former players. And the first question I'll ask is not about their athletic career, whether it's finished already or still in process. There's currently um, 5 members of last year's team who are playing either U Sport or one will be playing at Biola in LA this coming fall. So, clearly very talented, but that's
Hmm.
not what we talk about.
Hmm.
I asked them how they're doing in their life, like how they are pursuing their life goals beyond their sport goals, because as we know, the sport can be taken away in a heartbeat, whether it's through injury or through other circumstances, but their life carries on. And so that's what we talk about. What are you pursuing? How are your classes going? Do you have a clear direction in what you want to pursue for an education? Are you thinking about teaching? Because we'd love to hire you back at MEI one day. Like those are the kinds of conversations that I have, and then as they get older, like I'm now privileged to have coached many daughters of women that I coached early in my career, lots of them, and so we talk about family and just that dynamic and are they going to send their kids to MEI when they have kids or if they live in Abbotsford. So like Abbott or MEI is a real community, and the basketball aspect of it is just a smaller community, but it's the
Hmm.
same idea. And yeah, I joke with them now towards the end of my career that I'm like a grandfather to them, and
Hmm.
that's how I want them to view me. That I love them as my own kids, as if they were my own kids.
Hmm.
But I want them to succeed, not only as a sport, but far more importantly in life as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. I often think that sport provides lessons that sometimes a classroom can't. From your perspective, what are some of those lessons that being on the basketball court or volleyball court, et cetera, do lessons provide students or student athletes, maybe I should say, that in the
Yeah,
classroom wouldn't?
and there's research out there, Dan, that suggests that especially women who are involved in sports as teens, and even if they manage to make it to the university level, they are more successful in life. And so you look at that and go and you think, well, what is it? I mean, it's clearly a confidence. You can have all the physical attributes and abilities and athletic abilities that you can, but if you don't have confidence, particularly as a female athlete, you will hit a wall. And for some of them, it happens at a young age. Others, it can come later. And so I think having this the sport background, and especially if they can have success as individual athletes and see growth as their challenge to grow, and they're willing to make the put the effort in to develop their skills, they will then begin to see, okay, if I work hard at something, whatever it is, I can get better at it, whether it's skill development or even just an understanding of how my body works. And then it's the uh, aspect of working together with other people for a common goal, you can't replicate that. There's a bit of that in the classroom if you are successful as a teacher in creating group projects or the kinds of things that force kids to work together, but you can't replicate what happens in a team. Where in basketball or volleyball, where there's 5 or 6 players on the court at any one time, and at least half of the team is not on the court. And so, how do they find their place if they're not maybe one of the starting 5 or 6, depending on the sport? Are they still willing to make the sacrifices, willing to put the time in to develop as far as they can, even if it means that in the end, they're not on the floor when the final whistle blows. And that's what I've spent a lot of my career trying to do is convincing each one of the girls that's committed to being a part of a team, whatever level it is, that it's worth it. Even if you don't get as many minutes as you'd like, or maybe you think you deserve, it's still going to be worth it.
Hmm.
And so that commitment to pursue something where it's not guaranteed, I mean, that takes kids far in life, in all aspects of life, whether it's their careers that they're pursuing or, pursuing a family, working together in a marriage. Those, like, everything's hard work and
Hmm.
you have to
Hmm.
be committed to see it through. And you can learn that as part of a team.
Yeah.
Uh, at least I believe you can.
Yeah. No, I would agree with you. I I firmly believe, and there might be people out there who disagree with me, but I firmly believe that athletes or people who have played at a decently high level, or even high school, it doesn't matter. But people who get the idea of making decisions quickly, discipline, under pressure constantly, are the ones that actually make really good building administrators or leaders. And I kind of want to pose the question to you because I know that were educated yourself. You've held the title of vice principal for a very long time, athletic director. What what advice would you give to up and coming school leaders or up and coming teachers?
Yeah, I mean, it's complicated because it's tied into so many different aspects of who you are as a person. It starts with your background, your personality, the natural inclinations that you have as an adult. I mean, hopefully you like kids.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
if you don't, you better find something else because they'll pick up on it in the first 5 minutes of your class,
yeah,
whether
totally.
you actually enjoy teaching, whether it's the subject or that age or whatever it is. But I think you have to, as a young teacher, and I see it now in some of the teachers at MEI that have been hired recently, you have to make yourself vulnerable in a way that kids can see who you are as a real person. I mean, obviously, you can overshare, and so you have to be careful. But you need to let kids know your story and convince them that if you could make it through the whatever the trials or struggles you went through, and reach this point in your adult life where you're now leading others, they can too.
Hmm.
And so often it's the small things, the small victories, whether it's I taught English in my earlier years and teaching kids how to write a paragraph so that they understand that it's actually a formula and it's not as complicated as it might seem, and they can all do it.
Hmm. Hmm.
I taught socials for years and history and helping kids see that if they develop an interest in something and then kind of dive into it, all of a sudden things come to life. I would encourage younger teachers to pursue is like develop your personality in a way that's honest and transparent and real, and you will make connections with kids. You won't make connections with all of them. You can't,
Hmm.
but you will find yourself making connections with kids who gravitate to you.
Hmm.
And I just love watching that happen. We had our year-end athletic awards night at the high school yesterday, and I just saw some of our young coaches and the way they were connecting with their athletes at that event, and that just brings me tremendous joy.
Hmm. This is one thing that on the sports side of things, I think the last thing before we move on to your aspirations, but one thing I mentioned with Aaron Mitchell, who was on the podcast, as well as Farhan Laji, parents in sport. And this could be a huge topic. I just wanted to get your perspective, being independent school, maybe a different flavor than the public school system, but I think you could probably have a broad brush with this, being high school sport or club sport. But what's a misconception do parents have about youth sport, whether it's basketball, volleyball? Um, you know, are we are we are we helping them learn about sport, or are they too involved? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah. Again, this is something I could spend a lot of time talking about. Um, if there was something I would want all parents to hear now, these days, because there's so many more opportunities for kids, is that, hey, you know what? It's all right if they're not the star of the team. It's actually quite fine. And in fact, they probably won't be. And so, can you help your child find joy in participating in a sport when they're not a starter, or they're not the leading scorer, or they're not the setter on a volleyball team, or whatever it is? Can you help them find value in the experience? And that is the thing that I have towards the end of my career talked about over and over again. I think it was John O'Sullivan that I first who on a podcast where I first heard this phrase that after the game is over and you're getting in the car, as a parent, you only need to ask one question, or say, sorry, not a question, but make one statement. I love watching you play. That's all.
Hmm.
That is all. Because they're not going to play forever.
Hmm.
They most likely won't play after high school, or maybe even make a senior team at a high school. But just whatever level are at, encourage them and let them know that you just love the fact that they're putting themselves out there.
Hmm.
They're taking risks. They're making sacrifices. They're setting aside other things that they maybe would rather do for this pursuit, for this point in their life, and enjoy it because it doesn't last forever. And as parents, I would say the same. Enjoy it. Don't put so much pressure on yourself and your kids, and don't take it out on the coaches when things don't go well. Just enjoy the time that you have with them.
Hmm.
That's what the greatest thing about it being a grandpa and watching our grandkids play sports. We have 7 grandkids, and currently 5 of them are playing sports
Wow.
this spring. In fact, many days or many weekends. This past Sunday, for example, there was 4 games we could have watched, and we ended up only taking in 2 of them.
Hmm.
But there's no pressure. I never get over involved in the games because I clearly just love watching them play.
Hmm.
And I don't care if their team wins or loses or how they do.
Hmm.
It's just fun.
7 grandkids, you could field your own basketball team.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you for sharing, your perspective on education and sport. I want to transition now to your aspirations. 32 years in education. It sounds like you're at the end of your time in MEI. Maybe a little bit. I think you always go back, but you want to run for city council. So maybe kind of walk us through what that is, what that looks like, and what your hopes are.
Yeah. I mean, as a socials teacher, I was always explaining politics, the political system, the Canadian system to students, and so it's something that I've spent most of my career talking about. But it's only been in the last few years where, and I think it's really my experience on the BC School Sports Board and the 2 years that I served as president, where I went. I actually enjoy being a part of a group that is trying to achieve something great. And so, what do you do when you are finished your education career? Well, that the BC school sports opportunities are no longer there. But running for a city council position is similar, obviously much larger, and the scope of it is uh, is huge. But I think the concept is the same. Am I able to bring my background, not only in sport? I mean, that's the thing that is the obvious way that I want to connect with our community. But I've grown up here as a kid, raised our family here. I've been a part of this community for most of my life, over 50 years. So I feel like I have a perspective. I've seen how much it's grown, and I want to be a part of helping ensure that the city is poised to serve all of our um, community members, all of our citizens into the future. And that includes the kids who are currently trying to get into swimming lessons or be on a soccer team or join a hockey team. And they're practicing at weird times, or they can't, there's limits to the spots in swimming lessons, or whatever it is, you name it. Uh, that's tragic. If that's the case, because we've grown so fast that there isn't enough of infrastructure development to support our population growth, and that's only on the family side. What about jobs and opportunities for employment in the city that would keep people here? That has to happen. I think it's a great community to raise a family and to be a part of.
Hmm.
But if there isn't business growth and opportunities for investment that will grow our community and provide more opportunities, then we're doing something wrong. So I want to be a part of finding solutions. As I announced my candidacy in mid-April, so that's 2 months ago, it is incredible how many people have reached out to me that I didn't know, and I've had coffee. I had coffee yesterday with a guy that I'd never met. He owns several businesses in downtown Abbotsford, and we were just talking about the struggles that he's facing and how city council could maybe help. And
Hmm.
that gets me excited.
Yeah.
It gets me excited that potentially I could be part of a solution to see the city thrive and take advantage of the incredible resources that are available to us here. We are the largest municipal land based in BC.
Mm.
I found that out in the last couple of months.
Wow.
And, well, let's go, right?
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah.
get this city fired up to grow and become a leader in our province.
Yeah.
I just don't like negative attitudes. I don't like people who say, "Well, it can't be done."
Hmm.
Let's see what we can do,
Hmm.
and I wanna be a part of that.
You know, I just want to put you on the spot maybe a little bit here. I see, to the west and the east of us, huge development for recreation and sport. I know that's not the end all be all, but it's a huge driver for families, like you mentioned. What is there something specific that you're looking for as part of city council, or if you get the
Well,
position?
yeah, I mean, I don't wanna only focus on recreation facilities, but it is easy, and the contrast between the township of Langley or the city of Chilliwack and Abbotsford are so stark that it's impossible to ignore them,
Hmm.
and you and I have spent a lot of time at the Langley Event Center, for example, right? When I was president of BC School Sports, we were exploring different locations to host a variety of provincial tournaments. Basketball is the biggest one,
Hmm.
and the LEC is best suited in all of BC to host it. But why wouldn't Abbotsford at least look around and go, okay, what would it take? Ask the question, what would it take for us to build a facility that could host something like that?
Hmm.
I know volleyball provincials, I should say, volleyball provincials and nationals are held at the Tradex, but it's a sterile environment with virtually no seating, and it doesn't have the same feel
Hmm.
as a school gym or even the Langley Event Center facility. So you can't just put up a shell of a building and say, "There you go,
Yeah.
sports, have at it."
Yeah.
You need to have an environment that creates the excitement, the buzz around whatever the sport is, and then people will go for it. Like there, this is the other thing I've learned about Abbotsford. We have thousands of volunteers who are currently deeply committed to various sports and other causes, and they would love to see our facilities expanded so that they could showcase their own talents or the talents of their organization, their sport organization. So
Hmm.
I just really feel like we have fallen behind, and I think it's tragic.
Hmm.
I want to be part of a solution.
And everything costs money, Rick. So what, again, putting you on the spot, where does this money come from? Just
Yeah,
speaking from the
and
recreational
there's
side of
different
things.
approaches that municipalities in BC take.
Yeah.
It's very easy to find the debt to citizen ratio. That's easy to find. Several weeks ago, somebody posted it on social media. And we know that the township of Langley has the highest debt level of any municipality in BC. So I'm not advocating for that because that hamstrings city councils and really limits the flexibility that cities can have. But maybe there's something a little more that Abbotsford could do, and whether it's borrowing money in the short term, Abbotsford currently has among the lowest debt in BC. But really, again, I want to focus on the positive side and say, can we generate more tax revenue by expanding our business opportunities and providing places? And again, we have to be creative because the other thing I've learned is I think it's 72% of Abbotsford's land base is agricultural. And
Mm,
so
hmm.
there's extreme limits to what you can do with that sort of land. But let's get creative. Maybe we need to go up instead of out, right?
Yeah.
The Langley Event Center is building multi-level um, ice rinks and various indoor surfaces to be used for a variety of sports. So maybe that's a way to do it,
Hmm.
rather than simply assuming we have to build out. Maybe we can build up. But we have to start acting, and we can't just do more studies like the city is currently undertaking. There needs to be action.
So for the common folk, the taxpayer like me, what is something that I can do or families can do to bring awareness to everybody else, and to kind of highlight. I know a lot of people know about the inequities from a recreational standpoint that Abbotsford is facing compared to its counterparts. But what are some things that we can do? Is it reaching out to City Hall, those kinds of things, or what?
Yeah, again, I'm learning about some organizations in our city.
Hmm.
Abbotsford Recreation Advocacy is one organization. Sport Abbotsford is another. Both of these groups are active in the community, working with our uh, minor sport associations like soccer, baseball, softball, you name it. And they are advocating directly to the city. I met with the chair of Sport Abbotsford a few weeks ago, and he just let me know what he does and how he routinely has face-to-face meetings with Mayor Siemens at City Hall, and he's constantly advocating for um, enhancing our rec facilities and expanding them. So there are people who do have the ear of City Council, and so I think it's incumbent upon parents and the associations in our city to find out who those people are and bend their ear and make sure that they're aware of the concerns. I mean, ice hockey is just it's a constant cry for more ice sheets.
Hmm.
And the city is exploring ways to do that without spending the money themselves. Maybe there's a private um, organization that would do it as a way to run a business and generate revenue that way. Like this is what I'm saying. There are creative ways
Hmm.
to tackle this without saddling the taxpayers with more debt or higher annual taxes. Like I don't think that's the answer either.
Yeah,
We have enough of levels of government, the federal and provincial governments that are pursuing it from that perspective, and I don't believe in that.
yeah, okay,
I think there has to be more creativity in finding ways to navigate this without making it onerous on people, because then they'll end up leaving anyway, and so you haven't accomplished anything.
for sure. Yeah. Okay, just for the sake of time, Rick, I want to get into, I like to end off episodes with some rapid fire questions, if you
All
will.
right, I'm ready.
All right. So, kind of to end off the episode, just gonna throw some questions at you, and then I'll give you the final word. But first question is your favorite athlete of all time.
It's funny, I coach basketball all these years, but my favorite sport to watch is baseball. And so I'm going to go with Joe Carter.
Oh, 93.
Yeah,
Yeah,
92,
yeah,
93 Blue
93. Yeah.
Jay. I think he was only on the 93 team. But,
Yeah,
yeah, great. As a kid, I just loved well, actually, I was a young adult by then already, but I loved watching baseball, and he's the one guy that just captured my attention in those early years of my life.
that's awesome. I think Cade Smith is MEI alum,
Yeah,
isn't he?
he is, and he is thriving in
He
Major League Baseball with Cleveland. Currently, he's the, saves leader in all of baseball, which
yeah,
is incredible.
he's doing awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know which avenue trying through his dad, but I'm trying to get him on here. There's not a lot of big names that come out of Abbotsford for
No,
baseball, and
no,
I would love to chat with him about that. But so
sure.
if you have a little in, let me know.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Okay, your favorite teacher or coach?
Oh, that's an easy one. In fact, I reached out to him several years ago. He was my grade 7 teacher at Centennial Park, Jack Gosen. He also taught PE. He was really into sports. He had a muscle car. I just idolized him in grade 7. And he ended up becoming the president of the Abbotsford Pilot Hockey Association. And so I was teaching a leadership class several years ago, and I encouraged the students to think about someone who would influence them and to let them know, send them a card or call them or whatever. And so I said to the kids, you know what? I'm going to try to find Mr. Gosen. And so I Googled him, found a way to reach out to him, and I actually had a phone call with him.
Mm,
And it was very meaningful for him, but even more so for me to be able to say to this man who had such a huge influence on me that that he needed to know
mm.
that how much I appreciated him.
Maybe he can listen to this.
Yes,
Yeah,
maybe.
maybe. Okay, your favorite piece of advice or best piece of advice?
Yeah. Uh, don't give up when it gets hard. Your wins and losses shouldn't be measured on a daily basis. You need to look at the long term. Look at the growth that can come when you're committed to something over the long term.
Okay, I like that. That's great. I ask everybody that, and I'm always like, I gotta write this down. Okay, this one might be a difficult one, but can you define success and have you achieved it?
Yeah, that's another interesting question because last year after winning the provincials, I posted something on LinkedIn where I said, "This can't be the only way to measure success. Otherwise, for 32 years, I've been a failure. So it
Mm,
can't be wins or championships. It has to be a consistent commitment to growth over time." And the development of you as a person. And then if you're in a leadership role, the development of others to reach their potential.
mm, I love that, and as you say that, I just reflect back. I coached for several years, and I hope to get back into it with my kids as they get older. But there are a lot of coaches, Rick, who spend their lifetime doing this, and they never get a banner, right? And so you are very, very lucky
Yeah,
in your achievements,
absolutely.
and I think it's a nice cherry on top, right, of your career. What a fitting end
Yeah.
for sure, if it is the end. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
We'll see.
we'll see. Okay, I want to give you the final word. Any takeaways, final pieces of advice for people? Anything you want to share before we sign off?
Yeah, I think again the many years of coaching and learning and now listening to podcasts and reading, there's no excuse for not having a balanced view of life. Like you need to fill yourself with wisdom, with good ideas, with conversations with people you respect, so that you can live a balanced life that has the ultimate goal in mind, and not the day-to-day things that will drag many people down. Keep your eye on the prize, look forward, and don't look back, and you will be amazed at what happens.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, Rick, and I'm so happy that you could join me on this. And I wish you all the best in the fall, and I'll be looking forward to the results.
All right. Thanks so much, Dan. It's a privilege to be a part of this podcast.
That's great.